Good morning, Spiritual Life Center. Welcome to the SLC Sunday Experience. We're so delighted that you're here with us today. We are in week 2 of our Faith in Action. Many of you wore the orange. We're going to sing our song, Your Soul is Welcome Here.
That's right. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. In the right place, I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul, is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Please join me in turning around and saying good morning to those live streaming. You're in the right place at the right time. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. Oh, my soul is welcome. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm getting the message. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here.
Your soul, my soul is welcome.
My soul is welcome here.
You know,
My soul is welcome
here.
My soul is welcome here.
My soul,
My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Nice round of applause. Yes, your souls are welcome here, and your soul is welcome here. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for being here.
All righty then.
And thank you for being here. And I was just feeling, I gave everybody a round of applause. Did you see that?
Yes, you did. I saw that. A round of applause.
Because there is energy that is fairly sizzling with zeal on this beautiful, cool autumn morning. Thank you, God. And this morning we greet you in the name of all that is loving and all that is beautiful and sacred in this energy of this beautiful mission-centric community that we call home and we call Spiritual Life Center. And whether you are sitting here for the very first time or you've been here forever, we welcome you. We especially welcome you if it's your first time. And we know that you're never here by accident. It's always by divine appointment. And we're so grateful that you kept that appointment. And that appointment of all of our brothers and sisters, all of those beautiful souls on this planet who meet in churches, mosques, temples, synagogues, and even simple stone circles, because we know that there is nowhere that God is not. And we are all connected at that beautiful level. The one level we do not prefer you connect with during the service is electronic. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead and silence any device that might enliven us with a ringtone that doesn't go with our beat.
Well, now that we've settled that, we have a clearing to connect with the presence. So let's take a moment and know that we can set aside any concern that we may have brought today and make a connection with pure spirit a presence that is beyond words, that is known by so many names, is a presence that we live and move and have our beingness in, a presence that is also the essence of who and what we are. And we make that presence the activity of our awareness. And the qualities include love and peace and joy and wisdom and creativity and all that is good and perfect. We align ourselves with these qualities and all the thoughts that we have, the words that we speak, the actions that we take, so that we so radiating these energetics that when we are seen, then we know that we are also representing the power from which we have come. So we send this loving energy out to all those who need it today that are here or anywhere around the world. We continue to envelop with divine love and support for those who are affected by Hurricane Michael on the East Coast in Florida, Georgia, Alabama. And know that there is a divine order unfolding behind the pictures that we see. And we lean on that presence now. As we lean on that presence, then we will be rightly guided, directed, and sustained along the way. And we shall see the presence of God everywhere. For this and so much more, we're grateful and thankful. Amen.
And speaking of seeing the presence of God, if there's anyone here that has a birthday in October, now's the time to stand.
And the October birthdays, we're going to give you a serenade you.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya.
And we always like to recognize when we have special people in the house. And we are all special people. And there's a brother that's come home today. And we welcome Reverend Tony Jackson. Going,
Appreciate your presence here today.
yeah, going down memory lane to that first year of chaplaincy. Yeah. And so this week, our WOW celebration is going to be Reverend Deborah Phillips. She's going to have a micro class. That is a little class, and it is on thought belief alignment. Beyond belief, 7 steps to thought belief alignment. And you can align in community over soup, because food is a universal language. So soup at 6, and the micro class happens at 7. And then on the 24th, we're welcoming back what we call the Gales. And if you don't know them, it's Gail Vinson and Gail Darren, 2 beautiful beings who are bringing a program called Invisible Helpers. And those are the divine beings that are always present in one form or another that are here to help us. And so they're going to talk about beautiful readings, and they're going to share their insights and their experiences. And we welcome the beautiful music of many of our music team, including Paula and Ann.
So that's good
That is
stuff.
good. That's exciting.
And we have some other opportunities to participate in the universal language of food, because we're having our participation potluck and game night that's going to be on Friday, October the 19th, and Saturday, October the 20th. The men will welcome the wisdom of Gerald Juth, who will share about aging, dementia, alternatives, and acceptance from a healer's perspective.
And I have Battleship for the participation potluck
Okay.
for game night. I'm just saying, bring your games that you really love.
Okay.
Battleship.
You lost me there for a moment, but I'm catching up.
Okay. Sorry about that. So coming up on our 20th anniversary eve, and that is the 31st of October, you can join me, you can join our Reverend Christine Boughton, our sister, and also Paula and Anne and friends, Catherine and Michael and Lisa Lawson. We're going to do a wonderful celebratory evening, a real bridge of light that will take us from the founders of New Thought and Unity all the way to you and you and you. All of us are part of that bridge of light. So come for a wonderful evening of ritual, of celebration, and of planning that next decade of our service. So join us for that on the 31st.
And also, we invite you to join us for our Light the World Gala that's going to be taking place on Friday, November the 16th, which will be the ending of our Faith in Action season. I mentioned earlier that Cheryl Sabar is going to be back for her 5th year in a row as the head chef. Yay. So we applauded her earlier. I think she may have gone from the first service. We'll give her an applause from a distance, as well as acknowledging that Pat and Kerry Freeman are the volunteer coordinators and that Pat has taken on the extra role of event supervisor the night of the gala. So we thank her for her work, and we thank Kerry for her work as well. And the volunteer sign-ups are available today in the courtyard at the gala table.
And see Pat, she's standing up
Oh,
right
Pat is
there,
still around. All right.
waving her arms.
All
And
right.
it's really fun to volunteer at the gala.
Yes, so support Pat.
Really fun. Right, Heather? Heather was here earlier. Heather is like the manifest dishwasher of all time.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's important to have all kinds of skills on that team.
We definitely need them.
Absolutely. And so we're also open to receiving Light the World Gala sponsorships, and this is sort of your last week because there's a gala sponsored dinner that's going to happen next Friday, and you'll be able to join with Robin DeLong and with James and our board president, Carolyn Cochran. And maybe the destination is still a secret. We don't know. So if you've been thinking about sponsoring, you would want to do that before next Friday.
And just a reminder that this is indeed our 20th year anniversary, which will be officially on November the 1st. Yes. And as we noted, on November the 16th, we're having the Light the World Gala, and we're going to be starting our 3rd decade of transforming lives. So make sure you get your tickets. You can get them in the courtyard or online. So we look forward to seeing you there. We're going to have a mighty good time.
I know so.
And speaking of a mighty good time, as well as an insightful time, I'm going to invite Claudia Norton to come forward because she and I are kind of organizing a guided tour to Cuba in February. So she's going to share a few words about the trip because she's the one that's mostly making it happen.
We're going to Cuba. So on Valentine's Day next year. And so please join me and Reverend Trapp and our friend, Paul Bardwell, who will be taking us into Cuba. And he's been doing this for 20 years, and he's been there 100 times. And he deals directly with the Ministry of Culture in putting together these trips. And they're called People to People. And his direct access gives him connections to be able to bring us great speakers and guides and that allow us to interact with the local people in a more intimate way. And so you don't want to miss this opportunity to be able to see this country before it gets built up. And just last February, he took a group, and there were 10 people from SLC in that group. So we'll be seeing Havana, of course, and Ernest Hemingway's digs, and a cigar factory, a museum, a rum museum, and a private ukulele concert from the locals. And we'll see the various social projects that they're working on. And we'll tour Matizans, I don't know if I'm saying that right, which is described as the Athens of Cuba. And there's music everywhere. It's just coming out of the pores of this country. And of course, the old cars. This is very affordable. It's only $29.75, which includes airfare, hotels, all the food except 4 dinners. So we fly from Sacramento to Havana, and my brochures are out on the welcome table, so come see me. And it covers all the 7 days and 6 nights that we will be there. And the deadline is November 13th, so get your your deposit in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Claudia. All righty.
And so now I would love to introduce to you some most important people here that are here to serve this community, and that would be our ambassadors and our prayer chaplains. The ambassadors wear that rainbow ribbon, and they are certainly the ones to ask a question of if you need to know how to connect or find out information here. And our chaplains wear those white stoles, and they are here to serve us all in holding the high watch and offering prayer, confidential prayer, whether it's a challenge or a celebration. Thank you, chaplains. And they will be in the back of the sanctuary after service or across the way in the courtyard.
And if you're here for the very first time, in a few moments, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. But in the meantime, we really want to let you know about the opportunities that are available here at Spiritual Life Center. And we'll give you a welcome card that we'll invite you to fill out and hand in either at the offertory at the end of the service, or you can take it directly to the welcome table in the courtyard and to get a special welcome from one of the greeters that will be there, as well as a gift or two for you. So if there's anyone here for the very first time, any first timers, if you raise your hand, any first timers?
We won't make you sing.
You don't have to do anything.
Yet.
Raise your hand. You're just going to get good stuff? Okay. Well, I always say that if you're different today than you were yesterday, you're new. So I invite you to get up, greet one another, and just say, "You are marvelous. Glad you are here."
Invite you to stay standing or to rise once again as we sing our Faith in Action song for the second time this month, written by yours truly, Paula Mandella, Creating the Dream. Join me in singing. From out of the cage and into the light, the serpent of illusion takes a feathered flight. The eagle of truth, revealing who you are, the artist and the art, a star among stars. Stand in your power, now is the only hour. Hey, hey ya ho, hey ya ho, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya ho, hey ya ho. In the silence where the sound is heard, universal wisdom flowing through the word, creating the dream that lives in me and you. in harmony with all. To your heart be true, stand in your power. Now is the only hour. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Aho. You please be seated.
Yes. Thank you for that wonderful original song, Paula. And
My
God,
pleasure.
yes.
It's great to have such an inspiring book.
And speaking about original art, I want to, every week during our Faith in Action, we have artists who present kind of a representation in their artwork of what the theme is for the week. And today's two artists are Sally Sion and Kathy Donna. And so I'm going to start out with Sally. And here's what she writes from her art that represents the theme for this week. As I grow older, I am aware that my body and mind change and some of my physical abilities decline, complete with demonstration. I can rue these changes and suffer because I have defined this as lose or accept the change as an opportunity for new perspectives. All the cycles of life exist within a beautiful circle if I choose to see it this way. Sally Sion, her art for this week. And our second artist is Kathy Donna, and her piece is entitled Freedom. And here's what she writes. The river of life brings us joy and celebrations, as well as sorrow, loss, and sometimes tragedies. When we accept this as the truth, aligning with the cycles of life and not resisting its natural flow, we experience freedom. We step into the river of unconditional love. My art represents the sense of freedom and love we feel when we accept the ebb and flow of our lives without resistance. Only then can we fully experience the gifts that life provides. Freedom by Kathy Donna.
Beautiful art. Somebody bought it. I was going to buy it. Somebody else bought it. Oh, that's beautiful. So as we've been speaking for a while, we've been working on our shadow cards, working in the cue process, learning how to live with nothing and no one against us. So in this process of waking up and growing up and cleaning up and showing up, we've been speaking these qualities together. So please join me in that. Please have compassion for us when we are being not enough, distrusting, grieving, blaming, powerless, or fearful, because this is who we have come here to be, inspired, in integrity, joy-filled, compassionate, unstoppable, generous, and transformational. And let's enfold all of those into our vision statement as we speak that together as well. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions. weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom. We cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet. And now let us prepare for meditation, singing this beautiful chant together. We are a blessing to the world.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the
Please join me in singing.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am and all I do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the heart, I am the hands. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the heart, you are the hands. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the heart, we are the hands. We're a blessing to the world. We're a blessing to the world.
As we move into this time of meditation, breathe deep into your belly. Breathe that song deep into your belly. Breathing in and breathing out. Feeling your belly expand with each breath. You are the hands. You are the heart. You are the voice of spirit on earth. You. Yes, you. Spirit, looking out of your eyes. Your Creator, working through your hands. Your God, loving through your heart. Your beautiful heart. That beautiful heart space in the center of your chest. Begin breathing through your heart. With each breath, relaxing. With each breath, softening into the love that you are. Floating in love, your whole being is supported. Every cell renewed. Rumi said, "My heart and your heart are very old friends." Indeed. And we feel that so easily here. So can we meet each person in our life from that truth? No matter what our opinion of that person, your heart and my heart are very old friends. Don Jose reminds us that when every action we take comes from our heart, we end the suffering in our life. We accept life on life's terms. And just as the river flows through the banks, the Spirit of God flows through you, ready to meet whatever life brings you, and ready to release whatever life takes away. You are the ebb and the flow of life. Love flowing with life. And even when life seems rough, God is there, holding you through the rapids. That is grace. Keep flowing. Keep loving. So as we move into the silence, let's just rest for a moment in this love that we are. In each moment, God is reminding you, you are my hands, you are my heart, you are my voice, you are my blessing to the world. Thank you for saying yes to love.
Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. You have all you need, it's all inside of you. Just close your eyes and breathe and know that you are safe. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. No need to make a plan. Your heart will be your compass. Just lift your sails in faith and trust that you will arrive. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. Let go of the shore, float into float into the mystery. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. Let go, float into the mystery. Float into the mystery. Float into the mystery. Let go. Float, float, float. Let go. Float, let go.
Thank you, Ann and Laurie, Paula, and all the other, and Catherine, and the guys. Yeah, we'll go with that. Well, we had a wonderful kickoff last week with our Faith in Action with Don Jose, Louise. I think a bunch of you were here last week, weren't you not? Yes, we had a good time with him. He really got us into the wisdom of the shaman, the book that he has authored. And there were a lot of things we could take away from him. And one of the things that I took away from him that I'm kind of embodying myself and have said from time to time is that there's really nothing for us to learn. Nothing for us to learn. All we have to do is unlearn all the stuff that we've been picking up over in our life. So when we look at this series that we're talking about in our Faith in Action or anything else when we come here, we're really part of the Institute for Higher Unlearning. Yeah, this is the Institute of Higher Unlearning. Because we're here to unlearn all the thoughts and dreams that we bought into that has nothing to do with us expressing the presence of God. So we're here to unlearn lack and limitation. We're here to unlearn fear, doubt, and worry. We're here to unlearn that we're not good enough, unlearn that we're not worthy enough. We're here to unlearn all the ways that we may have been moving through life in which we try to protect ourselves with false beliefs instead of stepping free and liberating ourselves so that the power of God can be expressed through us. So, once again, welcome to the Institute for Higher Unlearning. You know, one of the places that we're continuing on today is the topic of going with the flow. And in his book, The Wisdom of the Shamans, Don Jose talks about the story of the riverman. And he's part of a community of so-called religious fanatics because they have all bought into the dream that they have to sacrifice other people in order to appease God. Of course, we know there is no God like that. A God like that would have human qualities, and so we're putting human qualities on a God. I think they need that kind of attention. But anyway, in this story, the riverman goes away and comes back and finds that the love of his life has been sacrificed. And the riverman is eaten up by anger, hate, the desire for revenge, and he has so much despair that he wants to die. And one day he goes down to the river and he sees a vision of his beloved. And that vision spoke to him in a spirit. And he felt so good that he decided he wanted to stay there forever. There was something that brought up that love that was in him again. But interestingly, that spirit that spoke to him had said something else to him. Said to him that he had to let go of the resentment. He had to let go of all those negative things. And as he was beginning to hear what this consciousness was saying to him, he had a revelation. He had an insight. And he began to see the truth. He knew he had to replace that fear that he was embodying. He had to replace the hate that he was carrying with the joy that had been with him when he was with his beloved. He had to have that in order to be free. And along the way, he said something that really was profound, and maybe was in Donna's picture, that said that freedom is within. It's not dependent upon the outward things. It's not dependent on outside things going a certain way. And when he realized that, he said he had to get into the flow of life. And when we talk about getting into the flow of life, we're talking about getting in tune with the presence of God. We're getting in tune with the qualities of God and making them the activity of our consciousness. Because in that is true freedom. In that is true spiritual freedom. And when that happens, we're no longer in bondage to hate or anger. And of course, when the riverman did this, he was going counterculture, counter to what the ego would want us to do when we're been hurt by something outside of us. Because most of us would want to try to get revenge, get back, kick butt, take names and make somebody pay. But there's a statement that says, I think from Charles Holmes, that all of nature is conspiring for the freedom of the individual in order that it may unloose its own energy. And we cannot have that freedom if we hold on too tightly on how we think things should be. You know, we hear from time to time when we state that God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. And sometimes we say that, I'm sure that people would look at us as askew, you know, those spiritual life-centered people. They think they can be happy all the time. They think they can be in joy all the time. They just don't know. But of course, we know on a very deep level when we say that what it really means. We're not making believe that life is good when the facts of life are not to our liking. You know, because in life, we know the situations are going to change. There are going to be ups and downs. There's going to be changes and moving all the time. As it says in Ecclesiastes, I think the 3rd chapter in the 1st verse, for everything there is a season. There's a purpose for everything under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die. So there are always going to be those ups and downs. But when we say that life is good, what we're saying is that life is good because God is changeless. God is forever. God is always. And we want to get in tune with that because nothing can block that realization. We're here to get in the flow of that. I remember years ago when we first moved to Missouri before I came to California. My son was very young at the time, and he had just been in school for a couple of years and getting to know his friends and getting in tune with, the neighborhood and really getting grounded. And of course, he didn't want to move because he didn't want to have to be like the new kid on the block again. And when we moved, we were a little concerned about whether or not he was going to fit in, making the adjustment and so forth. And so after the first day of school, he came home. And we asked, how did he do? And his response was, well, I'm not new anymore. He was in the flow. He didn't try to resist what things were in the past, try to make that happen. And I think when we begin to release how things have been in the past, we eliminate useless and unnecessary suffering. I think when we go with the flow, just as he did, he created a new dream, as Don Jose talks about and the Four Agreements talks about. We're all living in a dream that we've accepted as being true, but if we don't like the dream, we can create a new one at any moment. So he went from his old dream of being, a misfit or out of step to a new dream that he was in the flow. He wasn't new anymore. There's a statement that says that all suffering results from wanting things to be different than what they are. But blessed are the flexible, for they shall never be bent out of shape. Now, that first part of that statement, it was attributed to Buddha. The second part of that statement is attributed to James. But when you put them together, it's a very nice flow to it. Blessed are those who are flexible, shall never be bent out of shape. And he really kind of builds upon a Maharishi Yogi who said that infinite flexibility brings about infinite positivities. Sometimes people resist or deny or resent what is. And of course, when we do that, we hinder our ability to use the current moment to allow for the Spirit of the living God to move us from where we are to where we can be because we're not seeing those infinite possibilities. Non-acceptance of what is cuts us off from the nowness of the moment where all the presence of God is. Oftentimes, we may ask, how did things get to be the way they are? Because we don't want them to be the way they are. But of course, that's different from the question, what are the possibilities now in this moment? They're two different questions. Because oftentimes, if we even find the answer to the question, how did things get the way they are? We're still where they are. We're still in the same place. Nothing has changed. But that infinite flexibility brings about infinite positivities. I remember when I shared a story when I was in college. One of the things we used to do, my friends and I, we play a lot of basketball a lot. That was many decades ago. We go to the gym all the time and hang out. And there was one guy that was there. I don't know how old he was at the time. He must have been 50 or 60 years old. We said, we're going to have to take mercy on him. He used to be a good basketball player in his day, but his day has passed. And we were playing half court. And this guy was so adept with the basketball, and he was running rings around all us youngsters at that time. Because he had adapted in such a way that he didn't have to run around hither and yonder, try to jump high or run fast. He seemed to just be in one spot. And our heads were spinning in circles. He had so many tricks for us. But so he didn't let the fact that his physical limitations somehow stopped him from being good at what he was doing. He adapted to what skills he had in that moment. Kind of reminds me that if we find ourselves repeatedly reviewing how we got to where we are over and over again, we're not accepting what is and finding out what's available when we accept what is. And when we do that, we fight the entire universe because what is. Someone said everything is as it should be because every event that we had, the universe led us to that moment, so it's perfect, even if it's not to our liking. I think for the universe to fully support us, we have to be fully present in the now. Not resisting it, not fighting it, not wishing it was something different than what it is, but accepting it. And then we're in the position for the universe to support us with ease, with grace, and with dignity. I wrote earlier, and I think I've shared the story about a gentleman named Clarence. And I became familiar with this story during the days that, I used to practice criminal defense law in South Florida. And this gentleman, Clarence Chance, he had spent 17 years in a federal prison for a crime he did not commit. He really did not commit it. Unlike some of the clients that I had, when I come up to them, they say, I didn't do it. I'm innocent. And I say, man, they got you on a tape, man. You talking about? You didn't do it. They got 3 nuns over there going to testify against you. They said, hey, it wasn't me. Okay. But Clarence, he really didn't commit the crime. It was a frame-up from the police department. And there was a lot of legal wrangling, and after a number of years and going back and forth in court, he was released. And when he came out of prison, he was peaceful. He was content and centered in the presence of God. And he was interviewed when he came out, and they asked him, and they said to him, well, it's incredible that you don't have any anger, you don't have any resentment, you don't have any bitterness, yet you've been in prison unjustly for 17 years. And Mr. Chance said, oh, no. I was in prison for 3 years. You see, for 3 years, I had resentment, I had rage, I had bitterness, I had an unforgiving heart. And every day I felt locked in, victimized, and unhappy by my circumstances. But he said after those 3 years, for some reason, he had a revelation. He realized that he was made in the image and likeness not of God, and somehow the universe was pleased with him. God was pleased with him. And after 3 years of being in that resentment and rage and unforgiveness, he thought that if the universe had brought him here to this particular point, that's where God's glory was supposed to show up for him. And every day after that revelation, he began to express the qualities of God to the best of his ability. He expressed that peace and acceptance and forgiveness. And he began to do his own inner work. And he took seriously the belief that freedom was within him. And so he began to ask himself some questions like, where within myself do I have any belief of injustice? Where within myself do I have any sense of unfairness? Where within myself do I believe that resentment and unforgiveness will do me any good? And he began to ferret out all of that and began to release those negative thoughts. And as a result, he began to see a new vision for himself. And so, from his perspective, the last 14 years in prison, he was free because he worked with other prisoners, teaching them the truth of who and what they really are. And many of them left prison as new beings, aware, too, that they had something special to offer the world. And so when Clarence Chance finally got out, he was physically free. But he said he had been emotionally and spiritually free for 14 years that he had been in prison. And a new vision began to be expressed for him that wouldn't have been expressed for him if he had not been able to let go of the shore, so to speak. In the wisdom of the shamans, it reminds us that the key to going with the flow and releasing attachment lies in forgiveness. And someone said to me recently that forgiveness is really giving up hope for a better past. Giving up hope for a better past. Releasing attachment to wanting the past to be different than what it actually had been. But when we release that attachment, we begin to open up opportunities for transformation and new opportunities to take place that we would not have seen if we had not done so. Infinite flexibility brings about infinite positivities. There's once a man who young man who went to the hospital with his wife, and she was about to deliver a baby. And the baby came out fine, was perfect, no problems. But unfortunately, his wife passed away in childbirth. And of course, he was very, very angry at God, angry at the world, very upset. Had a lot of rage within him. And he left that hospital and he began to walk in the community that he was in for hours on out. And after walking around for many, many hours, he decided to go inside of a church. And he sat down in the back of the church where no one could notice him. No one knew him. They couldn't hear him or see him or anything because it was kind of dark. And in the front of the church, there was a woman who apparently was the cleaning woman, and she was cleaning up the church, getting ready for a service to take place. And after she had finished, she went back into the back room, and she began to wheel out a man who was in a wheelchair. And apparently he had a lot of challenges. He had, probably some emotional challenges, some mental challenges, physical challenges. And she began just to speak with a great deal of emotion and feeling, kind of speaking to the God of her understanding. And what she said was, God, I want to thank you for bringing my son into this world. Because it taught me what it meant to really express love for another person, to be there for another person all of his life. And the man sitting in the back of the room suddenly perked up, and he got up out of his chair in the back of that church. He ran outside. He ran down the street back to the hospital with the realization that his purpose at that moment was to go back and to raise his son with the love that he saw that woman raise her son. But he wouldn't be able to do that if he had held on to the resentment and the rage and the anger that he was holding in that moment. I had a wise person told me that if you want to control, don't. It took me for a while to understand what that meant. If you want to have control, simply don't control. It doesn't mean that we don't try to change things that we can change. Rather, we don't needlessly fight that which we cannot change. And we invoke that serenity prayer that says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that is true freedom, because we're going with the flow. Admittedly, sometimes it's difficult to let go. It sounds simple, but it's not always easy. When we think someone has done wrong to us, when things don't go according to our plans, when things go according to our plans, we begin to have to pray ourselves to get out of those plans that we prayed ourselves into. You understand what I'm saying? The times when we want to say, this should not be. And we create all kinds of suffering in our life because we're railing against the universe. One of the things we could do is practice what I call a meditation, a release meditation. And it's a time when we become still and quiet, and as we breathe in, and then we breathe out, and we simply say release. We breathe in, release. We breathe in and say release. And every time we say release, on some level, we're releasing maybe harmful emotions. We're releasing animosity, releasing fear, releasing doubt, releasing worry. We're releasing the things that we accepted in our life that no longer serve us so that we can have that field of infinite possibilities before us. Of course, with that release, we embody the truth that there is nothing and no one against us. Because we live in a universe. We don't live in a biverse. We don't live in a triverse. We live in a universe which is the allness of God, that it can never contradict itself. It can never go against itself. And because we are part of it, it can never really go against us. And so when we get in the flow of that, we realize this truth. Around 2009, I went to visit Nigeria. And they were having a unity conference there. And then invited me to come. You know, it was a long trip, I remember. That's probably the longest plane trip I took in my life until I went to Australia. That was even longer. But as an aside, you know, interesting in Nigeria, outside the United States, they have more unity churches in Nigeria than any other place. And I said, that's odd. How did that happen? And apparently, you know, many years ago in the early 1900s, there was a gentleman had come from Nigeria to the United States and got some unity material. And he kind of stuck it in his bag, and he went back and didn't really look at it until he got there. And he began to read it, and he really liked it, and he started sending off for more information. And he happened to be a chief of a particular community. And because in that community, whatever the chief did, everybody else did as well. So that began the start of unity in Nigeria. So they had a bunch of them. I went to a whole bunch of unity churches. That's a whole story in and of itself. But that's beside the point. And so when I was in Nigeria, I met, you know, some young guys, and they're going to take me to the local chief of a particular community. And I was game. I was adventurous. I said, I'll go for it. I was wondering later why I did so, because they were taking me to some remote place, and it was dark, and there was no lights, and there's some strange sounds going on. And I'm saying to myself, where are they taking me? But the chiefs were the people that the local residents went to for spiritual guidance, to settle the disputes and to learn lessons of life and to learn lessons of love. They had learned these things from the generations that has come before them, and they passed down this wisdom to the people in the community. And one of the things he was talking about, was importance to being in tune with nature, to be in tune with the universe, which I took to be pretty much to go with the flow of life. And it reminded me of a story by Carl Jung, a psychiatrist here. I think it was from Europe. I don't quite remember. Maybe it's in the U.S. I don't remember. Years ago, I studied that, but it'll come to me. It doesn't really matter. Somebody knows. Somebody in here knows. Anyway, they'll let me know later. But anyway, Carl Jung told a story about the rainmaker. And it's about the story in which there was a time that in this particular community, there were 5 consecutive years that the village experienced a drought. There was no rain. There was no water at all. And the ground was breaking apart, and nothing could grow in this hard ground, and the people were starving. There was no food that was growing. And their life essence was being diminished because there was no rain. And what happened that the village called in many rainmakers, but all of them failed to bring in any rain. And one day they knew about a man, a special guy who lived in a distant village, and they asked him to come and to bring about the rain. And he did come, and he stood in the land. And he looked about, and he felt about the land. He got the vibe of the land. He created a tent, built a tent, and he got inside the tent, and he stayed there for like 4 days. And he just sat in the tent. And on the 5th day, it began to rain. It began to pour. And the ground soaked up all the moisture, and it became fertile and fruitful and plentiful again, and it began to bear a lot of fruit. And the villagers there were astonished at this. And they asked the rainmaker, what did he do? What caused the rain to come? Everyone else, they said, that had come before you had been unsuccessful, so what did you do? And the man said, I did nothing. I did nothing. When I came, I saw the village was out of harmony with heaven. And I went in the tent. And what I did, I simply got in harmony with my divine being. And on the 5th day, the rain came. He said, I did nothing. And I think the Rainmaker is saying to us today that as we scan our life and we see things that may be amiss, as we see there's a lot of discord that's taking place, as we see that things are not quite right in our life and in our world, that we're not to leap into the busyness from an anxious space trying to make something happen. But we're here to be like the Rainmaker, to align ourselves with the heaven, to align ourselves with wholeness, to align ourselves with the isness of God, to align ourselves with the flow of life. And then we'll see a magical or sometimes mysterious synchronicity will take place. An inner coherence and balance will happen. And seeming miracles will take place, and our life will be in an environment for that mystery to happen in our life. And we won't get caught up in what someone told me is the secondary causes of action or secondary causative factors of life. And that means that we're trying to make this thing happen in order to make something else happen, in order to make something else happen. In other words, we're using our will to make it work so that we can succeed. And he said, nah, too much work. We'll end up manipulating people. And he said, what we have to do is go to first cause, go to God awareness, get in that flow. And whatever needs to take place will take place. We'll be like the lilies of the field, spinning and toiling not, and we will be taken care of. And that's what happens when we go with the flow. Something happens. The natural order of our life, the natural order of our universe, which is always in balance, which is always beautiful, which is always lovely, begins to break out all over. And I think that's the message and the wisdom of the shamans. Peace and blessings to you. Well, each week we have our affirmation, and I believe it'll come up on the screen in a moment. And I'll just simply read it once and then invite you to read it together with me. And it says, I embrace the cycles of life. As I let things come and I let things go, I step into the river of unconditional love. I am free to be me. Let us say those words together. I embrace the cycles of life. As I let things come and I let things go, I step into the river of unconditional love. I am free to be me. Let's take those words into our consciousness throughout the week and let us be in the flow of life. And at this time, I invite the ushers to come forward as we prepare our offertory together. And as you're preparing your gift, your tithe, your love offering, or if you've already given electronically or by mail, know that you are reaffirming and practicing a principle that is changeless, that says that whatever we give out, we keep. So not only do we benefit, but we benefit this community that is preparing for those who are on their way here for transformation, supporting those who are already here, the programs that we have in our youth, the tithes that we give to the community organizations that are making a difference in our local area. It's all God. It's all good. And so with that awareness, let us say our offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
have been weighed down by sadness like a stone. And we have yearned, we have yearned, and we have sometimes felt so utterly alone. While we turn, and we've been stricken by the wonder of it all. Stricken dumb, stricken dumb. We have sometimes felt so faint we want to fall. Overcome, but all in all, I'd say this year in flight together has been fun. What say we make one more circle around the sun? We have raised our fists in anger and we tried to work it out, that we need each other we cannot deny. There's no doubt, there's no doubt. So let us weave another dream in outer space while we're turning on this planet home that holds our human race. We're still learning, but all in all, I say this year in flight together has been fun. What say we make one more circle around the sun? I say this year in flight together has been a good, good one. What say we make one more circle, one more circle, one more circle around the sun? Round the sun.
You're gonna do my river dance. Well, we bless the tithes and offerings, knowing that bless the givers and receivers, and we're grateful for everyone that's here. We're grateful for the versatility of our music team. We're grateful for the consciousness of the Spirit of God, that each of us are vessels and vehicles to express. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And with that, let us join together as we sing our peace song.
Let
deepen that awareness of that presence.